Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Melody and Music Introducers. Today we are here with Luke Askew.
Yeah, how you doing?
Hey. So today we're going to find out about Luke as a brand, as a person, as a musician, as an artist, everything which it falls underneath those categories. We'll find out about it today. Um, so first of all, Luke, how are you doing today? You all right?
Yeah, I'm well, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah,
Yeah. You taking a bit of time out from all your gigs?
little bit. Well, I've just gotten back from one last night. But yeah, day off today. So.
Oh my God, okay. So we'll make this as painless as possible then, this interview.
Oh, bless you. No, no, not a problem at all. It's fine.
Um, so we'll just start with some basic questions, just get you into the flow of it, and then we'll jump in a bit more with some more in-depth sort of questions. So the first one, which I ask everyone, is what is your favorite song that you've written to date?
Oh, I've got. I know it sounds a bit naff, but I've got one that's planned to come out called "Born Near July," and it's probably my favourite so far. I play it live, but it's yet to be released. So yeah.
Oh, nice. And is there a specific time of year that we'll be able to hear this?
July. No,
Oh,
I've got a few more projects that I want to release prior to it, but it'll hopefully be out by next year. So yeah.
okay. Any sort of little Easter eggs you can tell us before they're released?
Um,
Or are you going to keep
Easter.
it secret?
I think the main thing is it's kind of a redirection in terms of sound for me. Previous stuff has been like I've been experimenting and finding what my voice and sound is, and I feel like I'm at a point where I've got a more homogeneous sound that is, I think, what I feel is a better reflection of where I want to go. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, everyone needs to keep an eye out for that. That should be really interesting. Um, so as we mentioned at the very beginning, you're a very busy man doing loads of gigs, doing a lot of performing. Is there one that you really enjoy performing it, or is it the one that you is your favorite song that you've written?
Say it. So, but the song, which is there like one I really enjoy performing, or is it
Yeah.
like is that? Um, well, of my own stuff, I think I prefer playing my stuff with a band. So, and any of that is fine. Like a Diary of a Woman is always pretty fun with a band, because we sort of trade off of each other and do a long improv bit, and that's always fun. So I think one of my own when I'm with a band, a Diary of a Woman, and then when I'm solo, there's a song called "Slow Love," which is another unreleased song. I think that's because it's better suited to that solo singer-songwriter storyteller thing. So
Oh,
yeah.
nice. Okay. Well, that's very interesting because I mean, of course, like everyone has a different opinion based on artist solo versus band work.
Sure.
And we've had it. I mean, I haven't seen all the musicians that I've interviewed so far. I think I've only seen two of them live, which is I need to start getting better at going out to gigs. But I've
Ah,
seen Broken Biscuit Company from Series One.
oh,
I
great. Yeah.
recently went to his gig I think it was last Friday,
Ah,
and yeah, he was saying in Series One, oh yeah, I really enjoy playing stunt double with a band. It's really energetic. But then when I'm
yeah.
playing solo, I really there's another song. I'm just like, huh, that's very because a lot of artists they don't know how to get into band work. So how did you sort of collate a band to work with you?
Good question. Sort of, it was fate that I found my I would say like first drummer that did quite a lot of shows with me. Basically he ended up being in a bit of a sticky situation, and he had to come. I met him at a job when we were like working outside of music, and we were both like doing it was like a manual labouring job, and we both met there, found out that we both were super into music, and I think with the person we connected over was Anderson Paak, and uh, he he ended up having to, like, literally 2 weeks later. He needed a place to move into, and I had space. So, and then we just organically started playing as a duo,
Okay.
and then it sort of built up. I spent a lot of time around musicians, at whether it's jam nights or open mics or just getting out and being part of the London grassroots network
Yeah.
is probably your best bet, at least in my experience, because you'll find a lot of great talent out there. But I think as songwriters and singers and whatever like that, there's an insular nature to what we do.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of us end up staying in our rooms writing songs and practicing, but there is a level of, yeah, but you want to connect with that community. So you then have opportunities to play your stuff with bands and stuff like that. So yeah, get out
Nice.
there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's the best bit of advice which any new musician can have. Is just get
Definitely.
out there, just do the go out, perform. Even if you're not performing, just go out and view open mic nights and stuff. Get to know people. Um,
100%.
so who actually, if you wanted to re-record any song as a cover, because we mentioned about your songs versus covers, is there any
Mm.
song in the big wide world that you would like to cover?
Um, I do quite a lot of cover work. It's not particularly sexy to talk about it as a singer. I do a lot of function stuff. And there's a song that I do, as part of like the acoustic wedding reception thing, called "Love You for Life" by Jodeci, which is like a 90s R&B tune straight ahead. Like it's everything that you could think of that is like
Yeah.
90s boy band. Well, yeah, 90s like gospel amazingness. I'd like to do a take on that, but a little bit more acoustic, or maybe a little jazzier, reharmed, or something. Do my. I'm not really thought about it because when I do it, I just do it. Well, I try and do it a bit like the record because it's what people want. But
Yeah.
if I had the artistic license to re-record, I would do something like a live band, and then play around with instrumentation a lot more, less electronic. So yeah.
Oh, nice. Um, and finally, just to round off getting to know you a bit more, um, who inspired you to make music? Because in the past we've had, oh yeah, it was my teacher, it was my parents, it was a sibling, it was, who inspired you?
Multiple figures along the way, all of which were better than me. you know, I, you know, I've always had a streak of seeing someone doing something that uh, I can't do, and me going like, oh, I really want to learn how to do that. And I think if if you can balance that with not too much comparison and just being like fascinated by the pursuit of being able to do that one day, whether it's belting a C5 or shredding or whatever like that. Um, Inspiration has been those elements of this guy can do this thing, and I really want to learn how to do that. And that's different people along my journey. So yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, and I mean, talking about your journey, because of course you said you want to change style, you want to kind of look
Yeah.
at different things. Of course, you've grown up in a few different places and moved about a bit. Milton
Mhm.
Keynes, Suffolk, North
Yeah.
London.
Yeah.
How have like specific variations of living in different places kind of gravitated you to different styles of music?
Good question. I mean, I didn't spend all that long in Milton Keynes. Only I was there for first few years of my life. I was,
Hmm.
barely. conscious basically. But when I was, I spent the larger half of my um, formative years, like early teens and childhood, in a village in Suffolk, um, called Battersford. And anyone that knows it, not that anyone will know it, there's nothing there. There's 400 people and a pub, and like four churches. It's just exactly what you can imagine. And I think the guys that would go down the pub there, it's a lot of blues or people who want the 70s to be always here. They want Deep Purple to live forever and things like that. So
Yeah.
I would say I had a lot of influence from that
Mhm.
group. So there was a lot of classic rock, prog rock in the early days, and then I don't know. I sort of through that you discover other forms of music, and then moving to North London, I was already into like jazz and that kind of thing, but you definitely saw a lot of. I was into jazz, but I was okay at it. I was not great at it. I was not like
Yeah.
I the cracks of growing up and stuff. It's a wonderful place, but you become the musician very easily because there's like not so much a wide variety. And I think then moving to London and particularly in the last couple of years, you realize how amazing people can
Mhm.
be at these disciplines like soul and jazz
Mhm.
and even like the stuff that I'm familiar with, like the talent that is out there and the singer songwriters that are out there. You think the bar is here, but it's actually like way
Yeah.
above, and it's part of the progress. So I would say moving to London was probably my most formative in terms of styles, singer songwriter, jazz, soul,
Mm.
funk. You just see how like wow, this is how you do it, kind of thing. Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, it is very interesting seeing the different levels of artists out there because you can kind of when you go around open mic nights, you go around different gigs, you can see, oh, okay, this person is just starting out, but you
yeah,
can see that they're working. They want to
yeah,
get, and then
yeah,
they then look to like other people and go, oh, maybe I
yeah,
could do that.
100%.
And North London, or actually all of London, not even just North London, is. I mean, you can probably say this better than I can because I don't tend to leave the north part of London very often. But
Oh,
London in general just has artistic talent everywhere.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The amount of absolutely inspirational singer songwriters that are probably making you coffee every morning, and that's not to sound like a dick. Like
No, but it's
I genuinely, the amount of talent and the amount of people that are trying to make it, and they've got they're so you wouldn't suspect it. They're just living their lives, doing their thing, and then at night at open mics or at gigs, they come alive and they get on stage, and it's like, whoa, I
yeah,
didn't know you could do this. There's a dear friend of mine that is who played a bit with me, and he yes, it was that moment where he got on stage and sung, and it was like he was doing a Sam Cooke number, and it was just blew the room away, and you just
mm,
wouldn't suspect it, which is great. It's a great
yeah,
side of
yeah. I mean, it's funny because a few months ago now, I think it was like maybe in June or quite a few months ago, June last year. I was at this sort of work event, and there was a open mic night at the pub.
Oh right, yeah.
Um, and my mate got up,
Mm.
and I knew he played bass, but I didn't realize he played acoustic or electric or sung even. And
Right.
out of nowhere, he
Wow.
started just singing with an acoustic guitar,
Yeah.
and had the whole pub just sort of singing along with him. And I was just like, oh my God, okay, okay.
Yeah. Who knew? Who knew?
But that's the thing, musical talent is just all around you. You just gotta open up and let people in and just sort of,
Yeah.
yeah, be open to people just giving advice, listening to you, etc.
I think it's a big powerful thing about the what coming back to why I recommend people going out and going to open mics and jams and everything is you don't even have to get on and
Mm.
do the thing. I don't even think that's the formative thing, or at least that's not for me. That's not these last couple of years. I've definitely engaged a lot more in the jam scene and everything like that, and you see,
Mm.
right, people can do this. It's not just like people on your phones or on
Yeah.
that the Grammys that can sing like this or can do like there's people that can sing
Hmm.
this well, like Whitney Houston level, and
Yep.
they're singing in Hackney or
Yeah.
whatever. Um, so it makes it much more real and more like okay, right, that's really inspiring. So
Yeah. I mean, on the flip side, um, being a solo singer-songwriter,
yeah,
um, you obviously have a lot of time of producing independently.
so,
Um, how does that sort of, when working solo on writing this music,
mm.
um, help sort of add your own personal touch to it?
I think there's more of a level of struggle and doubt that
Mm.
comes with being doing it, or at least for me, doing it in isolation. Whenever I collaborate, which is a, a plus, you have less of that because you're bouncing off each
Mm.
other and you come to a compromise and stuff like that, and it's quicker. It's a quicker process, but
Yeah.
I find that there's a certain quality that I lose when I collaborate, and that's not necessarily good nor bad. It's just different.
Mm.
When I do it solo, I think the struggle creates a level of um, uniqueness to the sound, and I think particularly these records that I have out now, there's still very much, in my opinion, like a searching for where I want to go in terms of a direction, because relatively, I'm still very I'm a fledgling, very young at production, so yeah, I think that struggle creates a uniqueness that I quite enjoy. So.
Oh, nice. Yeah, because we who was it that I was speaking to? Oh God, I can't remember. This is the problem after interviewing quite a few different artists.
And
After a
so
while,
many.
you
So it's,
you forget you forget who it is. It was someone in the earlier series. Was it? I think it was Serendipity earlier this series. But anyway, it was. I'm pretty sure it was Serendipity. I'm going to go with that. If not, I'm sorry.
yeah,
Uh, but she was sort of saying that she entered a writing camp in
right,
Australia, and she had to write a song with with a bunch of different people, and had to open up and
yeah,
like basically be like, on well, this happened to me. I'd quite like to write about it, but
sure.
then taking other people's inputs
Mm,
in with it, and
mm,
that's I suppose with collaboration, that's a thing where unless you all can kind of join in and have the same opinion about what you're talking about and what you're writing about,
sure.
um, you then may have conflicting opinions on how which way the songs should go.
Big time, big time. I think that collaboration makes for, as I said, productivity. You finish the songs quicker, and also maybe a homogeneousness that yeah, weird. Yeah, like a there's like a what is it?
Mm.
Yeah, a homogeneousness to the sound that trying to eloquently put this. Um, when you take pop music for example,
Yeah,
and I'm using an umbrella here. When I'm saying pop music, I'm talking about not just the quality of the sound, but the way that it's produced. There's
yeah,
obviously this writing camp thing is a big part of writing pop, and I think
yeah,
that's particularly useful when you are a pop artist and you do have to release an exceptional amount of music at an exceptional rate
yeah,
of a whether you like the music or not, it is produced and
Yeah.
made to an insanely high quality. Like
Yeah.
it's got the best engineers, the best yada yada yada. Um, I think that homogeneousness to the sound allows for maybe a more universal song because you're compromising. There's going to be more people maybe go, "Hey, I connect to this bit of the song. I connect to this bit of the song because it's had more hands in it. It's more of
Yeah.
like a rounded product, if you get my meaning."
Yeah.
Whereas when you look at the other side of writing, the Bob Dylan type of writing, where you are like that soul mystical romantic figure. I think obviously the amount of work that you have to do is much greater. You're maybe not as productive.
Mm.
However, the flip side, the positive aspect is there is an insanely uniqueness and individual artistic quality to the sound, that I think creates a really strong identity and brand,
Yeah.
for and means to a legacy because you have a style, that is unmistakable in all of your music, and it connects an overarching story to an artistic journey,
Yeah.
which to some people is more important.
Yeah, I think that's the positive thing about writing independently is that you can have that style, you can have that authenticity behind your music. And
100%.
yeah, I mean, that, having said that, it's still working. I think with the pop idea is there's so many eggs in one basket. There's so many hands just sort of grabbing at the song.
Sure.
Whereas with like soul, with even like
Mm,
independent, sorry, my voice is going at the moment. Even with independent indie pop, indie rock music, rock pop, all those sort of like genres, as it were, that fall underneath pop,
mm.
there's still, because there are independent artists wanting to take that route,
Yeah,
independent artists can still co-write with other people, but it still then has that authenticity. It's when you
sure.
then get to those major labels, I reckon, that then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, because they're expecting like 5 albums a year or something, you then
Uh,
can't.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's very true. I would say a lot of the major pop artists nowadays also, it's rarer to have so much of a hand in writing.
Yeah,
A lot of them are, if you're an independent, most of the time, you I know more independent people in the pop genre, but they're not going about things in a traditional pop way. They are the sole writer, or they collaborate with
yeah,
two or three. It's still insanely
mm,
soul and a very indie route because they are the main writer, the main performer, and maybe even the main producer on their tracks. Whereas, yeah, major label pop, most of the time, there are many writers, or they may not be a writer to their own music. Obviously, there's outliers that we
yeah,
know, the Ed Sheerans of the world,
yeah.
but most pop artists aren't Ed Sheeran. They
No,
are.
they have all the Max Martins and stuff in the background.
Yeah, yeah. Because
Yeah,
the artist now, I think, in pop is more of uh, an augmentation of the
mm,
brand figurehead, right? They are the
yeah,
vehicle for the careers of many other people, you know.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They're more the face of everything else behind the scenes.
Sure. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but so moving back to your music, um,
Yeah.
instead of talking about the wider industry, I know there's a lot of issues in the industry, but we can't
Ah,
resolve
big
them
up,
in
mate.
one.
Yeah, yeah. We'll be here forever.
Yeah, we can't resolve them in one interview. Um, but your music, you like to sort of write for relatable scenarios. You, you want to kind of put in things that people might experience on the day to day. And what sort of experiences that you've sort of had day to day have you then put into the music that you've written?
I think there's a level of personal relationship, not necessarily romantic. It might be any friend, family, whatever, a lot of my songs take on that, are at least inspired by that. Or I like to every now and then create stories that are not personal. I try and treat it as a work of fiction. I think the main thing with me, with my writing, is I do like the cryptic and the metaphor and the ambiguous in some senses, so people can find them their own relation, their own way into the music, you know, through their own inference. But I think yeah, I try and at least originally stem from something that I can relate to. Like
Yeah.
I'm not good at writing songs about, you know, going out and partying hard and stuff like that, because that's not who I am, you
Yeah.
know. And I don't think I could sincerely write a song. If it was some what I did, then I would, but it has to it has to draw from some level of reality for me.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's fair enough because, as we mentioned in the previous question, as the solo songwriter and stuff,
Mm.
you can only really write from experiences that you've had because
Yeah,
you can't really write as if you're, I don't know, like when Taylor Swift started writing like a 18-year-old
yeah,
country singer
yeah, yeah, sure.
and out in America doing that because you haven't done that.
Mm,
But because you're, as you, or even like you said, like writing songs about partying every night,
mm,
as you said, that's not your personality. That's not you.
mm.
So, what would you say specifically? How would you describe yourself as a person that you then input it into your music? What sort of feelings do you usually or experiences do you usually have that then lend you to sitting there with your guitar or your bass or yeah,
Sure. I think yeah, I do have. Uh, I'm very introspective. I'm very. I analyze situations a lot. I I potentially overthink a little, and I think that lends itself because I'm contemplating on issues that do come up in my life, whether about issues or whatever they are, situations that
yeah,
come up in my life. I think that introspectiveness and, you know, I spend a lot of time by choice, like on my own. I'm a little reclusive when I'm not out gigging. You know, I do like to sit and stew on things, and I think that is a good way for me to then find inspiration and for the process to be. I don't necessarily process things with music.
mm,
I'm not one of those people that have to write a song about things that happen to them in order to
yeah,
deal with the thing. But I do sit and stew on an issue, and once it's resolved, a song generally is
yeah,
that, like, oh, this can be a chapter of my life. You know, this is a section of, whether it's, you know, I went on a couple of dates with someone and it didn't go well, or it went, you know, they disappeared and stuff like that. The introspectiveness, because it hits me, because it affects me. I'm
yeah,
not very, I'm not a very detached individual. I'm a heart on the sleeve kind of type.
yeah.
I think that lends itself well to telling stories.
Oh, nice. And I can see next to you've got your bass and your, I think that's an acoustic guitar.
It's not
Um,
a Gibson SG actually.
oh,
Yeah, well, it's only got four strings on it at the moment because I've broke both of them. Um, yeah, so
typical guitarist.
yeah, yeah, definitely. The bass strings have been on for 12 years. You know, like they've never broke, but that's because I can't play bass very hard or well. So you know,
I mean, bass strings are also a lot thicker than the guitar
they they,
strings, so.
they are, but you know, I think I'd at least have broken one by now. But
But in terms of your guitar playing,
hmm,
so I saw on your Instagram that you've been playing guitar. I mean, I think when it was posted, you put 15, so maybe it's 16 years of guitar now.
Nearly,
Um,
nearly.
nearly 16. Um, what are some of the crucial, like, sort of elements of playing guitar that you've learned through the years while getting to know your instrument of choice?
Oh, I would say economy of motion more than anything. Ease slash economy of motion. I was very fortunate enough to have a tutor. Uh, I got a few guitar lessons as a kid, which was down the road, and he was this blues guy, and he had no interest in shredding or playing fast or whatever like that. He
Yeah.
was all about blues, man. It was very much like that guy down the pub, but a very, very excellent player and a very good guy. And he was very switched on in terms of technique. And he always ensured it put into me like you need to find the way to move the least and play the most,
Yeah.
not necessarily playing the most literally as in notes, but how can I move without, you know,
Yeah.
lifting my hands away, or the big thing that I see in guitarists is tucking the pinky away and only using three fingers, and you actually need your fingers close to the fretboards at all time. Can you lift your fingers up off only a millimeter rather
Mm.
than completely opening up? Because I met a number of guitarists that have had to slow down or even stop due to tendonitis or associated problems, because whether it's the left hand with the fretting or the right hand with the picking or strumming or whatever, there's tension in there somewhere, and finding an ease and economy of motion, and that means being really, really present in your playing when you are practicing. That there is no sort of
Yeah.
rigidity is the thing that has allowed me to, I think, play so much for so many years.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I think that's an issue with guitarists as well because, well, not even guitarists, with instrumentalists, like drummers, they have issues with their back,
Big time.
even with like their elbows and arms. Um, it's the same probably with guitarists as bass guitarists, double bassists.
Yeah.
I know saxophone players will probably have that issue as well, any brass players. And it's just that sort of thing of just making sure you're taking care. Because if you're not playing your instrument correctly,
Mm,
9 times out of 10, it's going to cause injury down the line.
100%. 100%. I mean, it's not a sexy thing to talk about. It's
Right.
not rock and roll. It's not obviously a lot of the older guys. They came
Mm.
through the punk era, so it was not even cool to be able to play your instruments. The whole thing with punk was, we're just here and we've got the energy and the character and the charisma, but ultimately, for longevity, you have to be a little bit dry and a little bit boring, and look at how can I make whatever I'm doing the easiest it can be without losing um,
Mm.
the uh, the passion and the intensity of what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, the positive thing is that that advice is primarily for instrumentalists,
Yeah,
and your listeners
yeah,
can just enjoy your music without worrying too much about that.
they don't need to.
Um, but yeah, I mean, anyone else wanting to start guitar, I think that's quite a crucial bit of advice, which is definitely 100%
Yeah,
uh, needed to give as well. Um, yeah, so going back to your performing, because as we said, you've like done a shed load of performing recently.
yeah.
You've just been on the go non-stop.
Mhm.
Are there any places that you've been to that you really, really enjoy playing and you really want to make sure you go back to a number of times?
Oh, I'll have to probably answer this in segments, because there are great pubs that want, a great Friday night cover show
Yeah.
bar set that I do really enjoy doing,
Mm.
um, because of a completely different set of reasons than necessarily like a
Yeah.
grassroots venue.
Yeah.
Um, to start with the grassroots gig venues, I would say I really enjoyed playing a lot of shows with under Success Express, which is a live music originals live music agency, primarily originals. Lorraine, the lady who found and still runs it, got me into a few really nice shows. There's one at her Unspun acoustic sessions are lovely, and they are. I'm gonna butcher the name. I think it's Karma Sanctum Hotel. It's in Soho. It's in the basement in like this cinema room,
Oh, okay.
and it's very so far sound style. Um,
Oh, nice.
that was really nice. The I've not done UK so far, but so far sounds in Gothenburg in Sweden was
Mhm.
amazing, really lovely. Um, and then the Finsbury with band shows was always. I've not been back for a little while, but the Finsbury with bands in North London, really nice. And then on the bar side of things, I like playing the pubs near me. I'm in Suffolk right now, and the pubs here are a laugh because my mates come out and they give me a hard time when I'm singing, which is which is a good thing. I like getting they heckle me. I'll be playing, they'll be shouting, "Play Freebird, play Freebird," and they're expecting like a one man solo version of Freebird, which would sound probably awful. They'll start singing like what Amarillo or whatever like that, over the top of me doing one of my songs, and which is for me like when I'm in that pub environment and I'm doing covers or whatever,
It's
that
welcome.
it's very welcome. I prefer that like jovial having a laugh
Yeah.
thing than when everyone's
Yeah.
dead quiet.
I
So
mean, you brought up Amarillo. It's quite funny that something's just come to my head. And I'm gonna just pivot to my music for a minute
sure, yeah, yeah,
because I was preparing for a gig was it last year? No, it was 2 years ago now. Didn't
yeah.
actually happen, which was very unfortunate. But I was playing one of my songs, "Pray for Us," and my friend who was
Hmm.
going to play piano alongside me, like was playing, and then he's just like he just then slowly changed the chords that he was playing,
Oh,
not too different, and then just started playing the same chords we were playing, just in a different, slightly different tempo, and
yeah.
sped it up a little bit and turned it into Amarillo. I'm like,
Oh dear.
every single rehearsal that we did for every song, he then towards the end just turned it into Amarillo, and he's like, oh no,
No.
no, it'll be so good. Let's just turn it into Amarillo. I'm just like, no, we're not doing Amarillo at the end of this set.
Oh, it would have been a laugh though. It
It
would
would
have
have
been
been a laugh.
every rehearsal.
I reckon for a pub gig that would have been all right, but for an actual gig,
Yeah,
maybe hold it off for a pub night.
yeah. It was maybe not one for so far sounds, I don't
Mm.
think, but it's definitely a good idea when you're in the right environment for it, for
Yeah.
sure.
So
Yeah.
you said you played so far. Um, for anyone that doesn't know, do you want to just give a little bit of an insight?
So it's a worldwide network that did start in London, but it's since expanded. It's either well, the whole point is to be music centric, music first entirely. The everyone sits down, they shut up. There's no talking. It's almost like a theatre play kind of level
Yeah.
quiet. No one is, there's no tolerance for any chatter or moving about or going to get drinks by the, which is really nice for originals music, because
Yeah.
I find when you're in a pub or something like that, wherever there is room for it, no matter how good a song may be, I think because there's a lack of familiarity with the content, you really need to create an environment where people are, before they get in the door, they are coming in with this mindset of, I'm going to discover some new music and some new
Yeah.
new songs that I really will enjoy, and I hope to enjoy, because by creating that space, they have this open, a more open mind. The audience members, I mean.
Mm.
So yeah, it's a oftentimes it held in intimate venues or even people's houses. If they've got like a really nice house, they'll do it in the wherever foyer or balcony or whatever. I've done it in a garage before, but it was a really nice garage.
Yeah.
So, you know, um, yeah, and they run it all across the world. Sometimes it is a Sofar's officially owned one, or it's a Sofar
Mm.
curator, which is, if I'm not mistaken, it's like someone that takes the branding of Sofar, but they are fairly independent. It's almost like a
Yeah.
franchise style. They run it, like someone
Yeah.
owns the way they run the thing, but they have Sofar over the top of it for marketing and reasons and for getting the tickets.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really nice. And the artists, the original artists, they get paid a fairly decent amount for how long they're playing for.
Yeah.
It's not not something to
Yeah.
uh, nose up at. It's a really nice night most
Yeah.
of the time. So yeah.
And I mean, if anyone at all is thinking of going to so far, I highly recommend. I actually, when I was this, I went to an A-level college,
Hmm.
ages ago now, but they came in and did sort of like a talk with us, and the founder came in to do the talk.
Oh wow.
It turns out his daughter was in my year group.
Oh right.
But he then talked about it and sort of showed videos of Billie Eilish when she first started, and
Oh
like apparently she started with Sofa.
mm,
Like she sort of rose to fame through that.
yeah.
And I was looking at that and just going, oh my God, that's like what they've started is massive for new independent artists.
Yeah.
I know the application process is quite thorough to get in as a Sofa artist, but once you're in there, you're
Worth it.
then part of this like massive community because also they help you go off to like I know they bring in artists from other countries
Yeah.
and host and like set them up in London with accommodation and then help them perform in London. And I think they also do it when if you like you go to America, I think, and you go to different places and they sort of assist you with
Yeah.
getting you set up. I think that's correct. I may not be 100% correct in that, but what I've
No,
heard.
I think you're pretty on it. I do think there's a slight just because it is completely
Mm,
different teams that run like the
yeah,
American one, from what I understand. Like
yeah,
the Europe one is its own thing, and they
mm,
have their own network of people that like travel around. And they, I met a lovely host who did a bit for the German one, a bit for the German one. I can't remember which German. I think the Berlin one, the Paris one, and then the also I met her at the Gothenburg one in Sweden.
yeah,
And she allowed me to. She sort of gave
mm,
me the heads up on playing on the Paris one, so I managed to do the Paris one. I think the Europe one's quite connected to itself, and then the UK one is fairly interconnected. From what I understand about the America one, however, like that is a godsend to American musicians because
mm,
I didn't realize how difficult it is to tour out there. I mean, it
mm,
makes sense with how big it is, but
yeah,
there are a lot of artists in America that primarily tour via Sofar and their network.
yeah.
So
Well, even in Australia, because a lot of I'm based in London, and I say this quite
mm,
a bit in these interviews, but I don't know how I've had so many Australian artists,
yeah,
especially from Brisbane, all in this one sort of series.
yeah,
But the Brisbane scene isn't massive. Like there's only I probably can't name how many places, but there's only a small number of places to gig and actually perform at in
yeah,
Brisbane. Yet so far have created a market out there, which is impressive
yeah.
and probably really needed, which is really good.
Definitely, definitely. They do good work. I think overall they do really good work, and there's a lot of particularly the work that they do. At least I can only speak for Europe. I can't really speak for UK and that kind of thing. But for
Yeah.
the European ones that I've done, lovely, really amazing shows,
Yeah.
and they're all volunteers as well. Most of them
Yeah,
are
I know.
volunteers.
I know it's
Crazy,
amazing. It is
amazing.
amazing. Before we move on to your music, um, I know you've given advice, little morsels throughout it so far, but what advice would you give to new artists who are just starting out, as someone who's kind of created yourself into this artist where you're now gigging and
Hmm.
writing, etc.?
Oh, it's a big question because I still feel like I'm starting out, but get out, get out a lot to start with. You know, I don't think you need to be out forever. I do think it becomes a crutch if you always go to jam nights instead of working on your stuff and things like that. But do get out there and be inspired and come back and practice your craft with the stuff that
Mm,
you've learned, you've picked up, and have, you know, build that network up because I think I was very insular, not even too long ago, you know,
yeah.
a year and a bit ago maybe. I was very insular in my own stuff. I wanted to, obviously, we're all very focused on the art that we create, but I think engaging with a network and supporting your mates, whether it's going to their shows or whatever like that, that kind of stuff does really help, you know, not only lift them up, it lifts you up as well because when you're part of that community, things do come your way, opportunities come your way, and yeah, it's and more than that, it's nice to be on a journey with others as well because it's motivational. So yeah, find your community, find your network, and it will be less difficult overall.
Nice. So, on that bombshell, we're now on to your music. Um, so we're starting back in 2022
Yeah,
with "You Seem Like Someone I Need" in June 2022. So we'll have a listen to this, and then we'll jump straight back in and talk about "You Seem Like Someone I Need."
of course.
This London sheets won't hold you for long. By now you must have seen how far you've come. I know I can't do much to you, but watching you cry ain't no girl in my life. If I may be bold, you weak hand I will hold. You seem like someone I need. A little smile is all that I need. If I'll ever think of you, I hope you know that I'm praying too. You seem like someone I need. A little smile is all that I need. If I'll ever think of you, I hope you know that I'm praying too. You've been down for so long. Sorry, I can't help you. I'll make peace with the pain. Thankful you're still with me. Wait a little longer. Stretch my bruise to forward. Can't believe you're with me. You seem like someone I need. A little smile is all that I plead. If I'm ever thinking of you, I hope you know that I'm praying too. You seem like someone I need. A little smile is all that I plead. If I'm ever thinking of you, I hope you know that I'm praying too.
You seem like someone I need. A little smile is all that I plead. If I'm ever thinking of you, I hope you know that I'm praying too. You seem like someone I need. A little smile is all that I plead. If I'm ever thinking of you, I hope you know that I'm praying too. You seem like someone I need. A little smile is all that I plead. If I'm ever thinking of you, I hope you know that I'm praying too. You seem like someone I need. A little smile is all that I plead. If I'm ever thinking of you, I hope you know that I'm praying too.
So, that was You Seem Like Someone I Need. Um, so, Luke, um, how exactly did you get started with this song?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I think it was probably 2020, 2021, where I wrote the base of the idea. And I think I was kind of experimenting a lot at the time, uh, trying to find a sound, trying to find a. I've never been very genre specific with my interests. I liked a lot of the 90s R&B, big vocal harmonies, but I really like the jazz, Erica Badu stuff, and then I was really getting to grips with producing. So I think it was a multitude of listening influences, along with like I always start with like the core melody idea. Um,
Hmm.
and a lot of times that melody idea is just kind of a conscious kind of
Yeah.
no, an unconscious vomit as well. If you know what I mean. Like I'll be playing something for so long. I'll be playing like
Hmm.
mindlessly, noodling, and then it will come out. So it was that idea with multiple production influences that sort of brought about that song, and then I filled in the blanks.
Nice. Yeah, because the vocal, especially of the chorus line of the song
Mm,
title, just seems so naturalistic.
mm,
It just seems like it just rolls off the tongue.
yeah,
Same with all the other vocals in the song. It just
mm,
kind of feels, and the lyrics just feel natural. It
yeah.
just feels like a natural progression throughout the entire track.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think it was because it was lyrically speaking about, feelings I was having at the time. And I've always wanted, as I say, to try and find things that are cryptic enough that people can find themselves in, but not obtuse enough that it becomes like an academic, um, uh, for want of a better word, an academic masturbation, if you know what I mean. Like it's like you know what I mean, like
A whole
this.
thesis you got to read through.
One of them songwriters, not to have a pop, but like it's. Uh, I always try to strike that balance between am I doing something new? Am I doing something original that has enough weird in it that is still going to be somewhat enjoyable to people? Um, I think that was the main, lyrically, the
Mm.
main pursuit. So
A mix of Lennon and McCartney.
trying, maybe trying.
I mean, you sort of saw in the later years of the Beatles how McCartney was
Mm,
going at the melodic route, and Lennon kind of went a
yeah.
little bit more. I mean, one of the songs that he wrote. was I Am the Walrus or
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
And you can kind of see the uh
yeah.
few
I
sides.
can't. Yeah, definitely. Well, that's probably what made them so brilliant. Was the I
Mm,
was having this conversation the other day with a singer-songwriter friend of mine, and he was saying like uh, the reason why they are the two is the push and pull that they had with each
yeah.
other. They, whenever Lennon was getting too Lennon, McCartney was there to bring him back, and vice versa.
Mm,
To the point where that collaboration was, inevitably very beneficial for the both of them. So
yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's been anyone else like them since. Um
there never will be. There'll be
no.
other things entirely, but there will be no way to replace that.
No.
Yeah,
Um Speaking of, well, because you've got these three really good tracks, and we've got two in very close proximity of release dates.
yeah,
So we've got Beak Street, which you
yeah,
released in November 2022.
yeah.
So what we'll do is we'll have a listen and sort of compare it because it's only a few months these two songs have been
Sure.
released,
Yeah,
so we can sort of jump in and see what the differences are in the releases.
definitely.
Cool. So this is Beak Street.
Ever since she was a child, she would come and sit on the curb. She found herself amongst the noise of men on scaffolded high. Strangers they gave a silent embrace away from friends you would hide. You seem like a girl, really sweet, sweet girls and smile. Loaded, made high, inside she's like you. Still got a color in my hand, waiting for salvation, blood that she's cleansed by love. Stained with gray walls, lights flick from the love, dreaming of the time that she loved. If she screams so innocently, a plot to find a peace of mind in the city. Have you seen the girl on Big Street? She's such a smiling, motive makeup. Inside she's dying. I see her on the corner at 9 a.m. Waiting for salvation,
That was Beak Street. Um, so I think just listening to that, two words kind of come to mind. I think heavier,
Mm,
not in terms of the emotional sense, but more in terms of the instrumentation and the atmospheric elements of
mhm.
the track. Kind of seem like a not. I'm just trying to think of the word. It's just a little bit of a different sort of vibe to "You Seem Like Someone I Need." So when you were producing that, what was kind of the idea behind Beak Street?
I think that was very lyric song driven first. I had a very strong idea for melody, form, lyric, very much so. I also had the guitar main theme,
Mm.
main motive um, theme. Yeah, the main theme of the guitar, sort of as a production-y dabble that I do.
Mm.
Producers will know we sort of play around for a long time, and that was one of the things that came out, and they happen to be quite matching in vibe and style. So I combined the two, and then you have to find a middle ground for the rest of the song, the production, and I didn't want to have this like massively heavy guitar part
Yeah.
and soaring leads, and then it turn into a singer-songwriter thing, and I wanted to have kind of a homogenous thing. So I think the drums were a big foundation of the track, and yeah, I mean, I see a lot of this period, even with stuff that is in the vault. It's an experimental period, because
Yeah.
I myself I was really looking for what do I want my sound, what Luke Askew the sound to be. So I see that very much as is a big part of the artist development thing that
Mm.
I was going through at the time, because the first one is very much more, that uh, jazz alt R&B area, and then this one has that heavier, as you say, heavier element. And I was just trying to find what would work and what I enjoy making and what I could see creating a sound from would be. So I think I was just creating and experimenting and seeing what worked and what didn't. So
Yeah, because also just before we jump back into the music a bit more, um, the album covers, because of
yeah.
course, as an artist, album covers is probably not the first thing that we've got to worry about, but it's definitely one of the last things that we've got to think about before the release.
Yeah.
Um, they're all sort of paintings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably the best way to describe them.
Yeah.
But so because a lot of artists they go through and they've just got like an image or a picture or
Mm.
a photograph or something like that. But yours are paintings, and of course that's not a usual aspect of a artist's cover art. What
Yeah.
what was the idea? Because we didn't touch on it on You Seem Like Someone I Need, but that also has a painting on it.
I think at the time there was a lot of um, impressionist stuff I was looking at, and influenced by and enjoying music and art. It's one of my favorite forms of visual art, much more than like any hyper realism or anything like that. I'm more lean on that kind of impressionist side of things, and I don't know. There was a certain use of color that I really enjoyed from those old paintings. And I spoke to a incredible artist who goes by the name of Michael in Taiwan, and I cannot remember his exact Instagram handle for the life of me, but really insane. He did a track, an album cover of an artist that was called Zed the Dreamer. He now goes by Nua, and I saw that and I asked him who is this artist, and he gave me this contact. And he's such a lovely guy, such a punctual guy, and such a such a talent for visual art. You know, he would do everything from, you know, the graphic design things that I saw, but he would also do these paintings. So somewhere there is the real. I don't have it because it's the other side of the world. But he did the work for me, and he was such a generous and very talented individual that we saw eye to eye on. And I think because specifically about the art cover for Big Street, it's the lyrics feature a female protagonist, and it's not it's a completely fictitious story, but it was very, yeah, it was very feminine led, and I just had this image of not anywhere near as rendered and complete in my head as what you see on the front of that cover. But yeah, kind of, I had a direction and he took it far and beyond, but on all of them, So
Well, if you ever manage to get all the way around the world, for anyone listening, you could own a Luke Askew original album cover if you can find it.
find it. I don't know. I don't know the address. I'm afraid, but I hope he's kept it.
I'm sure he has, in which case you never know when you make it big. That's
Yeah.
that's his. Look at this. This is what I designed ages ago. This is what I painted. Speaking of which, we are now on to your last track. So we started off with "You Seem Like Someone I Need," moved on to Beak Street, and now we're on "A Diary of a Woman," which you released on in March 2023. So we'll have a listen to that and finish off your musical journey of where you're at so far.
Dark nights and highways jeans. You know what it means to me. Thrown in front of my eyes are too deep designs, proudly asserting their uncertainty. You're a victim of creativity, just like me. But fool you see, victims are victims if we allow it. So go and paint, honey. Dream about the cold Scottish beach. You're blowing my mind, so bring me to brine.
So that was Diary of a Woman. Um, First of all, before we get jump into the story behind it, um, amazing vocals on the track. Absolutely amazing vocals.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate it.
Um, well, why don't you give a little bit of a story behind this one?
Well, this one is actually the oldest tune out of them all.
Oh,
Um, yeah, no, ironically, I wrote it when I was 17 or 18, and it was just sitting. I was sang it at semi open mics. I sit on music for a long while because
mm,
you have to choose one project to really throw yourself into the production, yada yada. So it just the way it was. It ended up being that yeah, it came out at the end, but uh, yeah, it started 2018 in a different key, a lot lower, and I sung it for years at open mics, and yeah, it was a love song. It was a love song of a teenage romance that is obviously no longer a part of my life, but I look back very fondly on the song because as I said earlier about the chapters of life,
mm,
it was a big chapter of my life relatively to the time, um, and yeah, I look back and it's a very fond love song of my youth. So
yeah.
that's at least the genesis of it. So,
Because also I'm looking at the album cover again. A
yeah,
beautiful design. It's a girl standing in, I think, a library,
yeah,
sort of like an old-fashioned kind of library, which is amazing work to
mm,
the artist there who painted that. It looks amazing. Um, Sorry, I
really
got
good.
distracted. I've got it,
Mm,
so I'm playing it on my phone, and
yeah,
it's coming through Zoom on the computer. But I'm looking at the album cover. It looks amazing. Um,
yeah,
and
no, it's
yeah,
insane. Really
yeah.
good. Michael is yeah, it was insane, and yeah, it came about from a it was impressionism, but surrealism as
Mm.
well. Like I wanted a little bit, like you say, it's like I think it's a library, but it's a library with a kind of a window into a different section. Like a weird perspective.
Yeah, because it looks like there's a window onto a beach, but it also looks like a bit like a train station.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy what he managed to come up with, but yeah,
Yeah.
it
No, it's
started with
amazing.
AI art. It started when it was an informative kind of thing, and this is the good part of it was it started with me trying to get some ideas, and I sent
Mm.
it over as reference, and obviously he did better than anything that I could create with all of the power of the world at my fingertips with AI. But no, he smashed it. But yeah, that initial idea was AI, so it was all a bit surreal and weird at the time as well. So um,
Yeah. Well, because I mean, you said you wrote this song before the others. Um, how does it because you said you want to focus on individual projects one at a time to get the most out of them.
hmm.
What made you hold off on this one so that you could release You Seem Like Someone I Need before it?
um, candidly, I think I wanted to learn my creative process more.
Mm,
I wanted to become a better producer and a better singer, and all of these things, not really spoken about by artists, but none of
yeah.
us are formed good at what we do out of the womb. There
Yeah.
are some people with insane amount of talents, but that's generally, singers that are born or grown up singing. But
Mm,
that wasn't my story. So I just felt like I needed more time to incubate, learn technique, learn my craft before I could do what I thought was a really nice song justice. Um, Honestly, so
yeah.
yeah.
No, fair enough. I mean, as you said, like it's that sort of thing where shouldn't push a project until you're ready to then develop it and get it out there properly. So yeah, fair enough. And As I said previously, I'm looking forward to all the projects that you got coming up this year as well. Because those, if it's anything evolving off those three tracks,
Mm.
it's definitely something to look forward to.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, yeah. I think they're in a really nice direction that I want, and I feel like there's a maturity and a developed sound to it, and a homogenous kind of sound to it that I'm really enjoying at the moment. So yeah.
Amazing. So I know you're just before we end.
Hmm.
Um, uh, I know you're not in this copy, Luke, but you will be in the 2025 edition
Amazing.
of this. And this is the melody and music. It's probably going to be backwards. I don't really know if this is
No,
the correct way.
yeah,
But this is the Melody and Music Presents 2024 edition. Um, in there, there is all of the introducers, a little bit of an extract. There's song reviews of all the song reviews done in
wow.
2024. There's a top 50 list of the 2024 tracks that have either been reviewed or shown in the episodes, and there's plenty of more in there. Um, if you're interested, there's still a few copies left for anyone interested. Not many left, but there's still a few. Um, and as I mentioned, Luke, you will be featured in the 2025, a one at the end of the year.
Great.
um, but before we end, just after that little bit of promo, um, how did it feel, Luke, listening back to tracks? Because of course these were released in 2022 and 2023, which are over 2 years ago now, or
Crazy.
just
It's time.
yeah.
You know what? It's really it's a mixed feeling if I'm being honest. It's a mixed feeling because I was that first track I was probably 20 when I started producing it and kind of putting it together, and I think you join the dots when you look back and you can see, oh right, there's progression between each of the tracks, but you hear, like with the projects that I'm working on now,
Yeah.
it's quite nice to see that the amount of work and effort that's gone into these last couple of years, the evolution of that my sound, my vocals, it's a humbling but very nice experience to hear that, okay, that was that period of time, and with the stuff that's coming out, it's given me a sense of confidence, weirdly. You see your old work, you see a million things wrong with it, but then you go, you know I'm excited to show the world what I think is that step up. So it's a nice learning experience. So yeah.
Oh, amazing. And before we sign off, where can people find you, Luke?
You can find me primarily on Instagram, Spotify, of course, but all under Luke Askew Music on all of the socials, and then Luke Askew on Spotify. So,
Amazing. And just to recap before we go, of course, we have had all of Series 1 in 2024. So
mhm.
if anyone hasn't already, go listen to that. And previously, we have had in Series 2, let me hope I've got this all correct, Matthew Gokon in episode 1, followed by the soulful Samuel Ashton in episode 2. Then Serendipity from Brisbane, Faith K. Roos from Brisbane, also. Then Maddie Kate or Madison Kate, also from Brisbane, three in a row from Brisbane. Followed by Tiana Franks and now Luke Askew. Um, Thank you so much, Luke, for joining, and I hope everyone enjoyed.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And for everyone else, I shall see you next time. See you later.